Not all epic champions in Raid are created equal. Some will carry your team, while others are just a waste of resources. So today we're breaking down the 10 worst epic champions in Raid and the champions that you should really avoid investing in unless you really have to. And trust me, some of these epic champions are so bad that they make rares look like legendaries. So let's dive right in. Hi gamers, welcome back to this channel. In case if you don't know me, I'm Bobby and you're watching my Raid Shadow Legends channel. So how are you doing, guys? How is life going? Is it going well or not so much? Recently, I feel like time flies. I feel like the more responsibilities you have, the faster the time goes, and that is actually true. Let me know in the comment section, what do you think? It's time going fast for you or not so much? Alright, we have a lot to talk about in today's video and I'm super excited, so let's start. The champion I want to start with, that is definitely gonna be Jotunn. I'm not sure how to pronounce it. I guess it's Jotunn. Let's find him. He's from the Barbarians faction and he's an HP epic champion. Here we are. Hold up, click the link in the description to start your game with the free legendary and 4 solid epics as you level up. Here are the simple steps you need to follow. Step number 1, log out of Plarium Play on PC and uninstall. If you have never had Raid install on your mobile device before, the link will also work there. Step number 2, click the link in the description and register a brand new email. Step number 3, launch Raid and complete the tutorial. And finally, step number 4, go to your inbox and claim your first champ. Here we go. You will find Karato Fox Hunter there, and as you progress through the game, you will also unlock Ugo, Raktordrat, Tagor, and Mausoleum Mage. This is an amazing account start in Raid, so click my link in the description below and follow these simple steps. What I have to say about Jotunn, it's not so pleasant, you know? Jotunn is a low tier epic champion and he lacks any AoE damage. All of his skills are focused in attacking only one enemy. His debuffs are really slow and unreliable. Also, his kit doesn't provide much to the team. Besides that, he's usually not worthy of investing so many books and masteries into unless you doesn't have anybody better on the team. Also, his damage output is pretty low. Even though he's an HP based champion, he doesn't bring heavy nuking power or defensive abilities. Also, he has no stuns, provokes, or turn meter control, making him ineffective in PvP or high level PvE. Many HP based champions provide shield, healing, or team-wide utility, and Jotunn does not. Despite the fact he looks super cool though, I cannot skip that, but despite his cool appearance, he's not really worth investing your resources into. The next champion on our list of 10 worst epic champions that you doesn't want to invest in is definitely Kinagashi. She's an epic support champion and she's generally considered a bad champion because she lacks impact in most game modes, while she has unique revive skill on her A3. Revives an ally with 50% HP and 50% turn meter, also places a 60% increased death buff on the ally for 2 turns. At first glance, that seems pretty cool, right? But the problem here is that her overall kit is too weak and she's heavily outclassed by other champions. Also, she doesn't bring hard crowd control abilities, meaning stuns, freezes, provokes, etc. that can be helpful in the arena or the Doom Tower. Also, her damage is really terrible, making her useless as a nuker. Another disadvantage of Kinagashi is that she doesn't provide defensive buffs like shields, block debuffs, or increased defense. Her only use skill is the recall from that her revive skill, but it revives an ally at 50% HP and only provides a 50% turn meter, which doesn't guarantee that the revived ally won't die immediately after again. In general, I wouldn't recommend investing your resources into Kinagashi. She is definitely outclassed and she doesn't provide any real damage. So she's not worth the books, you know? The third champion on our list today is again from the Barbarians faction, and that is namely Maeve. You know what I mean, right? This lady right here. Alright, so while Maeve, Maeve, it is Maeve, oh my god. My brain is blocking. Alright, Maeve, let's call her Maeve. Alright, while Maeve has several crowd control abilities, they are strictly conditional. On her A2, the Slobber Knocker, she places a stun debuff, but only if the designated target already is under a sleep debuff. And as an attack-based champion, her multipliers are underwhelming, and that really makes her a poor nuker. Also, she has that block revive skill, but there are plenty of other champions that can do it more efficiently than her. In general, she's really not worth investing your resources into. Her attacks on A1 and A2 are attacking only one enemy, no AoE damage. So I really do not recommend maximizing her. The next champion on our blacklist today is definitely Reaper. He is from the Skinwalkers faction, and he is an attack-based champion. I really like his weapons. He looks cool, you know, but Reaper has no AoE damage, and he only attacks one single target at all of his 3 skills. On A1, we have Scar for Life, attacks one enemy, destroys their max HP by 30% of the damage inflicted. On A2, again, we have attacks one enemy 2 times. Damage increases as the target HP decreases. And finally, on A3, we have Heavy Slam, attacks one enemy, will ignore 50% of the target's death, destroys their max HP by 40% of the damage inflicted. His damage output is really low for an epic champion. If I have to be honest, his A3 Heavy Slam is not a bad skill. It's quite good actually, because we'll ignore 50% of the target's death, but this is only useful against high defense enemies, and the Reaper's base attack is low, meaning that even with the defense ignore, he won't hit that hard. Also, Reaper doesn't really excel in any stat. He's too weak for damage, not tanky enough to survive, and too slow to be a good turn first champion. The next champion I really do not recommend is from the Knights Revenant faction, Lady Eresh. Where are you? Oh my god, just in front of me. Alright, she looks dreadful, by the way. She looks super strong, but unfortunately she isn't. While it is possible to make good use of Lady Eresh if you have good support champions on your team, her damage and survivability don't make her viable enough to use her after the beginner stage of the game. Also, she has only one AoE skill, and that is on her A2, Blur of Knives. Attacks all enemies, has a 20% chance of granting an extra turn. If an extra turn is not granted, fills this champion's turn meter by 10% for each living enemy instead. This is an AoE skill, but with bad conditions for success. Her only good use in the game might be in the Knives Revenant faction wars, but other than that, she doesn't excel in any of the dungeons or clan boss fights. So basically, she's not that good. She's outclassed, and she's not useful in the mid game as well as in the late game. So really listen to my advice and don't invest your resources into her. The 6th bad epic champion on my list today, and I know I can get a lot of hate for this one, but I'm still gonna say it. You know, he's from the Undead Hordes faction, and his name is are you ready? His name is Karam. Alright, what I have to say about Karam is that he really might seem interesting at first look, but he has some several major flaws that make him a weak investment in nearly all game modes. Karam's entire gimmick revolves around instantly activating poison debuffs on the enemy. As you can see on his A1, he attacks one enemy, has a 50% chance of placing a 5% poison debuff for 2 turns, and at his A3 Rotaway, he also deals damage from all poison debuffs on the target instantly. If the target is a boss, they receive they receive 50% less damage from those poison debuffs. However, enemies need to have multiple poison stacks for the damage to be decent, otherwise he hits like a girl. I said what I said. In PvE content like dungeons, faction wars, and Doom Tower, you need champions that can deal with multiple enemies at once. Unfortunately, Karam deals only single target damage, meaning he struggles against waves of enemies. All of his attacks are attacking only one enemy, and this is really such a big drawback, you know? He can't clear rooms efficiently, and that really makes him bad for farming and progression in the game in general. Also, he has no AoE crowd control like stuns, freezes, provokes, so he really doesn't help much in control fights as well. The only cool thing about him is that he really increases ally accuracy, but only in faction creeps by 40. His aura is decent only if you're lacking accuracy on your team, but other than that, he is really not worth investing in, guys. Trust me when I say this to you, not worthy at all. There are so many better rare champions than Karam, so please don't invest your resources into Karam. You're gonna regret it later. The next champion I have prepared for you is actually one of the champions I got from pulling an ancient shard, I think. Yes, it was an ancient shard, and that is namely Alaric the Hooded. If you remember in one of the previous videos, I pulled him and I was asking you for advice, for opinions, if he's good or not. Alright, now when I have made my research, I can quickly summarize why he's not good. Despite his cool appearance, you know, he suffers from poor damage, weak debuffs, and lack of utility, making him low-tier champion in almost every area of the game. The only reason to consider Alaric is for his potential decrease attack and decrease accuracy debuffs from his A3 Crimson Warlord. However, you know, even this skill has a very high cooldown, which makes it inefficient in most cases. And what is really bothering me is that in order to unlock this skill right here, you really need to ascend him up to level 3. Oh my god, it's not worthy at all. I would not ascend Alaric the Hooded because he's not worth the potions here. I don't want to use my potions to ascend Alaric the Hooded in order for me to be able to use his A3. Come on, man. Come on, man. Next bad epic champion on our list today, and this is a champion from the Lizardman faction. Can you guess who it is? I will give you a quick hint. Life is good, you know what I mean? Alright, he's called Drake. Oh my goodness. Why Drake? Oh my god. He's a dragon. Maybe that's why Drake Dragon. I don't know. I guess so. But what I have to say about this champion is that for an attack champion, his multipliers are weak and he really struggles to deal meaningful damage, guys. Also, he's single target focused because as you can see, all of his skills on A1, A2, and A3, he's attacking only one enemy. That is basically useless. He's bad for wave clearing and arena nuking. Also, he's really easily outclassed by easily to obtain rare champions. I have also made a video about good rare champions. You can go and watch it right now. But an example I can give you is Diabolist, for example. She's so much better than Drake. What I was gonna say about Drake is that his only good use is maybe his aura, because it increases ally attack in faction creeps by 30%, but generally as a damage dealer he's not good enough and he's definitely not worthy of any investment. Keep it if you have him, but don't make him one of your main carries, you know? The next champion on this list today, this is Missionary, and he's from the Sacred Order faction. Once again, this is a single target champion, and what I wanted to quickly mention here is that in today's video, the main reason I put all of this champion here, most of them are single target champions, and you really don't want to invest so many resources into single target champions because they are not useful in most of the game modes, we really need strong champions with great buffs and debuffs so we can use them in clan boss fights, in the arena, in campaign, and they can really be useful. As it is for Missionary, he's useless in most game modes unless you use him around well-built nukers. While he has some debuffs, on his A1 he has a 20% chance of placing a stun debuff. On his A2 he has a 75% chance of placing a provoke debuff for one turn, has a 100% chance of placing a provoke debuff for one turn, and a 50% decrease attack debuff for 2 turns. Alright, while he has some great debuffs in his skill set, like that debuff here on A1 and also on A3, the conditions for success on the skills are really high and they only apply to a single target. So he's definitely not that useful in most game modes, so I really do not recommend investing resources onto him. There are so many better champions out there that are waiting for your resources, but not this one. Unfortunately, not Missionary. Alright, the last 10th champion on our list today. This is a champion from the Bannerlords faction and he's an attack-based champion. And namely, I'm speaking about Masked Fearmonger. While he has several good debuffs in store, they are strictly conditional. What I mean by that is, for example, on his A3 well-used axe, he places a block buff for one turn, a 30% increased speed buff for 2 turns, and a revive on that buff for 2 turns on this champion, only if this attack kills an enemy. Also, he has no AoE abilities and only attacks one single target per turn. Another thing that I can't go without mentioning about Masked Fearmonger, that is that his effectiveness really depends on whether he successfully lands that fear debuff right here. You can see it. Will ignore 35% of target's death if the target is under a fear or a true fear debuff. Also, that goes for his A2 Haunted Machete, has a 75% chance of placing a fear debuff for one turn and 75% of placing a 30% decrease speed debuff, but this is conditional because he's placing that true fear debuff only if this attack kills an enemy, which is not 100% guaranteed and really makes it not that much useful. Also, his other skills are less effective because of that reason, because the target needs to be under that fear debuff. It's really conditional and it's really not 100% sure that he's gonna land his debuffs on the target. His Nightmare skill right here attacks one enemy 2 times each hit, decreases the target's turn meter by 7.5% if the target is under a fear or a true fear. This skill can decrease the target's turn meter, but only if the target is under fear again, and his well-used axe ability can ignore the target's defense by 35%, but only once again if the enemy is under that true fear or fear debuff, which really makes it ineffective because how many champions are out there with that fear and true fear debuff? Like, you need to have some champions with that debuff on your team in order for the Masked Fearmonger to be useful. In general, you can choose another pretty good rare champion even, so he's definitely outclassed and I do not recommend maxing him out. So there you have it, my list of 10 worst epic champions in Raid. And what I have to tell you is that even though those champions might not be that strong, every champion out there has its time to shine in the game with the proper team and the right strategy. Drop your thoughts in the comment section below. Let me know what is your opinion on this list. Do you agree with it or would you swap some out? And hey, if you found this video helpful, drop a like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon so you can never miss on more tips and tricks. Until next time guys, keep raiding and may all of your pulls be legendary. Bye!